important is it for people to sell? And let's face it, women really struggle with selling themselves.
I meet a ton of entrepreneurs all the time, and they all have great ideas. Very few of them can talk about it in a way that other people can understand. And they're uncomfortable with that because it is uncomfortable to figure out how I can communicate my message in a way that a third grader can understand, but not sounding belittling to other people either. So I have often said something a little controversial, which is, if you don't know how to sell, then you do not have a business.
Hi, and welcome to another segment of Speaker Life TV. I'm your host, Leah Woodford, and with me today is an amazing friend, but she is a leader of women and sales, and I am so excited because we work together, but she's also a dear client of mine. Welcome to the show, Delaine.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Delaine, we have been on quite the journey together. I mean, I was speaking in Chicago. You pulled me aside, we had dinner, and then we became friends, and you've been a client, you're at my house. We spend a lot of time together, but I want to talk to our viewing audience about Sophisticated Sales Magazine, because that's been a game changer.
It has been a game changer. I remember when we first met and you were like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm a coach primarily for female entrepreneurs and exceptional men by application only. And we had a great laugh and then decided, you know what, maybe we can do this bigger. Maybe we can do this better. Maybe we can have more visibility as we work together more as we go along. So that's what we did. We came up, I remember we were in your living room one day and we said, you know what, we're going to do a magazine and it's going to be something about sales because all you do is sales. So, but we don't want it to be just boring. We don't want it to be just like anybody's sales. We want it to be like sophisticated sales. And then we're like, aha, it was born, Sophisticated Sales. And I did get a lot of flack, believe it or not, from men who had written me, hey, are you a man hater? Why don't you coach men? I need coaching. I can be sensitive. Come on, coach me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready to coach you, but I am ready to explore presenting you in the magazine. So it's been a great tool to make the divide come closer together and also an amazing value add for my current clients.
Well, that's what I want to talk about. For those of you who don't know, Delaine is from the Chicagoland area, but she has 3 amazing groups, big groups that she runs. Can we talk about those?
We can talk about those. The primary group is Chicago Boss Ladies, and I've worked with the ladies there for, I don't know, it's about 2 years now. We also have Let's Do Lunch, and we even have some of our attendees and location leaders with us here today. Julian Panicola, quick shout out. And we meet in a very different way. Most women are afraid to come to networking because they don't have to worry about what they're going to say. They're like, oh my goodness, I'm thinking about what I have to say, so I'm not listening to anybody else. And at the end, I've got to talk to somebody. I may have a piece of spinach in my teeth too. Bad days. So we created a curated environment. So we have a topic every month. We come together, we discuss the topic. We have some immersive breakout sessions so people get to know each other. We have lunch. And then they're ready to do real networking, real connections, and real collaborations. So that's Let's Do Lunch.
So can we tell our viewing audience a little bit about Let's Do Lunch and how they can get involved? Because it's kind of evolved since I first heard about it.
It is. It started off as one location in a coffee shop. Now we have 3 Chicagoland physical locations. One in Schaumburg, one in Burr Ridge, and one in the south suburbs called Frankfurt, if you've ever heard of that town. But we also have a virtual group for everyone else around the world, and it's called Let's Connect. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, the easiest way is just to go to the website, soliscoaches.com, and sign up for free.
So, Delaine, you're a sales expert. Let's talk, can we unpack sales a little bit?
We can.
How important is it for people to sell? And let's face it, women really struggle with selling themselves. Can we talk about that a little bit?
We can. I meet a ton of entrepreneurs all the time, and they all have great ideas. Very few of them can talk about it in a way that other people can understand. And they're uncomfortable with that because it is uncomfortable to figure out how I can communicate my message in a way that a third grader can understand, but not sounding belittling to other people either. So I have often said something a little controversial, which is, if you don't know how to sell, then you do not have a business. All you have is a very expensive hobby.
Very true. What is the biggest challenge? I mean, men don't seem to have the problems that women do around sales. What do you think it is that trip women up?
I think it's a combination of things, but I have packaged it into what I call sales confidence. And there's 3 components to that. The first one is obvious self-confidence. If we're not confident with ourselves, how can we be confident with anything else that we're doing? And the second component is sales knowledge. A lot of people have great ideas, but they don't have it all figured out enough to talk about yet. So they're fumbling their words. They don't know what they're offering. So they add in something sometimes and take away things other times. And then the last thing is delivery. Because if you're so focused on what you're going to say to people, you cannot observe how they're responding to you. And that will tell you if it's going to be a good connection, if it's going to be something to pursue, or if you should just make a referral out because it's not going to be a good fit.
Now, you and I talk about this all the time. Once you start talking about your offer, shut up. Can we unpack that?
Yes, everybody's like, when do I give them my price? I'm like, well, you don't give them a price. You give them a highly sophisticated proposal, but only when the time is right. Because why would you talk pricing with anyone that has not been pre-qualified and interested in what you have to offer? So that's what I'm always like, let's just stop a little bit on the pricing. But when they do finally get to the proposal, outline the proposal, talk about all of the value adds, tell them what it's overall worth, and then be quiet. And then they'll be quiet for a minute because they'll be like thinking about it and processing it. And the reality is most people are really slow processors. So it's only a few seconds. It's going to feel at least like 10 minutes. Let it happen. And then they'll usually have a question. And the question is great because you can get ahead of the objection at that point. So let them ask their questions, take a deep breath, and then finally come to them and say, what do you think?
So let's talk about when we started the magazine. What questions did you have when we decided to do this magazine? What were some of the objections you had that I had to overcome? Because believe me, I had to overcome a couple of objections.
Yeah, I am relatively inquisitive.
Yes, she is. I was in the hot seat.
I know. It's like, Leah, this sounds like a great idea. I love raising the voices of women, but I need to know one thing. Is this going to make me any money or what? Am I going to pay for this? Am I going to be in the hole? How's the ROI work? How does it all work? Where do the articles come from? Et cetera, et cetera. But I love what you shared with me about how you can turn it into a value add opportunity for your current clients.
That's amazing, but it also allows for sponsorship opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to connect with some really big people. We know you've had some pretty big people on your magazine, but even Dave, we had him up earlier. It puts you on bigger stages and gets you in front of bigger people. Can we talk about that a little bit?
I think that's a really excellent point because it's so much easier to engage in a conversation. So all of you may have heard of Robert Kiyosaki. Yes, no, maybe. So during that time, I also ran a feature article for Chicagoland real estate leaders to watch. So it was a really easy conversation because everybody wanted to be in a magazine that he was on the cover of. So it's an easier conversation. It gives you instant credibility and you do position yourself as an expert. And as Leah does say, you are a celebrity from Chicago.
That is true. But now you know firsthand, interviewing Robert Kiyosaki is like walking a lion on a dog leash. He is probably the toughest interview I've ever had. What was your experience?
My experience is that if you know what you're talking about and can be concise, the better off you are. But you're right, interviewing skills are huge, and I thank God for being a therapist in that moment so that I can walk down this path of, let's talk about this a little bit. It sounds like we need to pivot.
But that was really one of the fun things because Robert connected with me afterwards and said, boy, I really appreciate how prepared she was and the questions she asked. He thought they were really clear and succinct, and he loved that it was sales. So he was really excited, wants to know when you're going to bring him back.
You know what? We need to do that.
So what's been the best part of doing the magazines?
The best part of the magazines is obviously working with you.
Oh, well, I paid her to say that.
I know. Checks in the mail. You see how I'm making money on the magazine now, right? The second part is just the people that you meet, not only the people that you interview, but the people that come into your life. And do you remember that entrepreneur story that we uncovered in Chicago together with the lady that had the sea moss?
Yes, I
And
do.
how she moved from New York. She had nothing. It was during COVID. And it was such an amazing story of how one post made her viral. And then she started manufacturing these sea moss products in her garage. So we had a great opportunity to meet her. And it's just hearing all of these stories are so inspiring to me because let's face it, entrepreneurship is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And we need to fill our cups because it is going to get poured out as we go along.
That's true, but you really do a great job of leveraging the magazine. Can we talk about that, maybe unpack that, how you leverage your magazine? Because we have a couple of people in the audience that are going to be doing magazines. So I want to share with them how you leverage yours.
So originally what I had was a book and a coaching program, and then I sold those two things together. But when the magazine came, it became a total change in the way I talked about what I did. It was no longer I coach or I help female entrepreneurs. It was I bring visibility to female entrepreneurs and I help they turn their career and their product and their service into something that everyone knows about. So it came to be something much larger and it actually has changed the way that I talk about it. Now I help people through a few different vehicles and one of them is the magazine.
You know, and that is such an important part. People need to be visible, but it's also how you're known. And this has catapulted you as the boss lady in Chicago.
Well, I don't know about that, but I will take it.
You should take it. But what's one goal you have for this upcoming year for the magazine?
For 2026, I just want to publish more. I want to get more people in it. I want to raise the visibility of it, and I want it to grow from a largely national publication to an international phenomenon. How about that?
I love that. I love that. And you're also bringing a podcast along?
I am. So everything I do has to do with the word power. It started off with the book, Power Your Pay. Podcast is going to be Power Your Voice. And that will be coming as well. So
I'm so excited. Well, Delaine, would you come back to the show?
Of course, I would be delighted to come back.
Well, for those of you in the viewing audience, this is actually the Speaker Life Summit, and we're doing a TV segment here. This has been Delaine Blazek, but this has been Leah Woodford with Speaker Life. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.